Hello everyone and welcome to Cooking with Your Girl. Today we are making melanzane. It's probably one of my most favorite dishes and pastimes. There are a lot of steps to making this dish. It can be quite tedious. The finished product is always absolutely delicious, so it's so worth the work. So let's get to it. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel to see how I prepared for my eggplant before we start the frying process. I have here my slices of eggplant. I've come to the conclusion that I like to do 3 steps when it comes to frying my eggplant. I have flour, and right here I'm just using an all-purpose flour. Then we are gonna toss our eggplant in an egg bath, and then we are gonna do some Italian breadcrumb. And other people have different methods. They like to just flour and fry, or they like to do the egg wash and fry, but this for me works the best. So I have my piece of eggplant. I am going to flour bath it. And I'm gonna put my eggplant through the egg bath. And the best thing to do at this point is just use one hand to do most of this, and then have the other hand free because you want to be able to drop the breadcrumbs all over it and not be all icky and gooey. I used to be in the kitchen and get my entire body dirty when cooking. It used to be pretty messy. And then I learned some techniques that are actually quite good hacks. So now that we are all breadcrumbed up, we are gonna put this in our foil and let that fry.
He's a sinner. He's a sinner.
I'm left-handed. I'm using right and left hand right now and both my eyes. This is some serious multitasking. Okay, so now we are on to step. Before we get to layering the eggplant, we want to cut up some fresh basil. So sharpening your knives. With basil, a lot of times when you're cutting with a dull knife, you will lose a lot of the flavor in your cutting board if you do not cut basil correctly. So here's a life hack or a tip. I have some basil here, and what you want to do is you want to layer the basil one on top of the other from biggest to smallest. So I'm going to try to figure that out right now.
You know that he's a sinner.
Okay, so I'll leave the rest for later. Once you put your basil together, you want to roll it gently into a cigar shape. So something looking a little like this. And then cut ever so gently through the basil with your sharp knife. And as you can see, there is literally no basil juice on my cutting board. So, like that. And you can smell the fresh aroma from the basil. We're gonna put that in this here, and we're gonna save that for our layering. Now, layering our eggplant. I have sauce here. Well, I couldn't really say my nana made it. She gives me the tomatoes. I break it down in a food processor. I cook it for about an hour. So this is sauce that I have stored in my fridge that I usually keep for dishes like this. First step, spread some sauce at the bottom of our baking dish or tray, whatever. are baking whatever. If you like a more firmer texture, use a tomato paste, which works really nicely because it keeps everything really tight. In this case, I'm using a sauce that is just so significant to me, so I'm gonna stick to that. We spread a layer of sauce at the bottom. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're gonna add a little bit of basil. Now, I love the freshness of basil, but too much basil kind of takes away from the dish. So this is why I cut it. And I'm just going to just sprinkle a few pieces of basil. Now, we are gonna add our eggplant. So after the eggplant, we are going to add our mozzarella cheese. And I have here some fresh mozzarella. It's kind of very, very sticky. I got this at Grand Cheese, and I come home and I just grater it myself. You can make your melanzane with fior di latte, but my only thing with fior di latte is because it's so high in moisture, it adds moisture to the dish, which I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to dry the dish out. The cheese does harden and stick, but not as well as mozzarella does. And we're just gonna sprinkle our cheese layer. This is gonna be like the best part, well, besides the eggplant. So our next step is to add Parmesan. So I have a nice fresh block of Parmesan cheese here, and we are going to grater it on top. So we're getting like lots of cheese in this dish, and we're also getting hella messy here as well. But we are going to start our entire laying process over again. So you're gonna do every step that I just showed you until you get to the very top, and then we're gonna talk about that.
He's a sinner. Lord.
Now, if you're using a fior di latte cheese, you're gonna wanna add a little bit of that egg bath you used earlier for your eggplant in between your layers. That's what's gonna allow the cheese to really bind everything together. So once you get to the top and you have your eggplant laid out, you're just gonna add some sauce. Get into every little crevice there. This is like your baby, so take care of it that way. Once you're done, you're gonna feel so accomplished. Next, we're going to add more of our mozzarella cheese. So this is gonna give us that nice bit on the top. So now for our final step. I've preheated my oven to 300 degrees on bake, and we're just gonna pop this in the oven. Try this. It just keeps getting better and better. The eggplant is just perfect. Perfect texture, the nice little crisp. The batter has kept really nicely on the eggplant. Guys, Parmigiana di Melanzane. Thank you guys for watching.